Good morning and welcome to Ireland AM, and you're going to be hearing that song and a whole lot of other ones a lot over the coming days because, of course, tributes have been pouring in for the radical and incredible Sinead O'Connor, who has died at the age of 56.
Yeah, it came like a gut punch for the whole nation, I think, yesterday when her family announced the news that she has unfortunately passed away, and with great sadness, they say, for her and her family and the entire country. I think her friends and family, of course, all devastated today.
I think that Sinead O'Connor was a truth teller, and an awful lot of things that she said proved to be true, and she put herself out there in a way that no one else was willing to do at the time. And throughout the show, we will be paying tribute to Sinead O'Connor's legacy and her contribution not only to music, but to Irish society and what exactly she did. And for you, and it's amazing to see what people have been saying, people who met her, people who didn't even know her and felt a connection to her. If there is anything that you'd like to say about Sinead, we'd love to hear from you this morning. It's 089 611 111. But of course, we will have other things throughout the show as well.
Yeah, also coming up, she's one of Ireland's most talked about athletes. Sprinter Rhasidat Adeleke will be chatting about turning professional and the upcoming World Athletics Championships.
Another phenomenal Irish woman there. She's astounding. Also, everyone was kind of finding a little bit of joy and happiness and then a bit of madness in the cinema with Barbie and Oppenheimer, two very opposing movies. They are set to dominate the box office again this weekend, and of course going forward we're actually going to be looking at what's worth streaming. One of this week's picks is the espionage thriller Lioness, starring Nicole Kidman and Zoe Saldana. We'll also be looking back at the wonderful Sinead O'Connor documentary that was released just last year. We talked about it at the time, and Brian will talk about it again today.
Yeah, now Deric is set to boogie up a storm this morning. Tell us more, Deric.
Yes, good morning, Sean. Well, given the morning that's in it, we'll have Sinead O'Connor firmly in our minds as we boogie around with the Dance Yourself Fit crew later on this morning. In terms of weather, it's a bit of a damp, a bit of a misty start with that mixture of sunshine and scattered showers, but not as heavy as what we saw yesterday. But we'll have full details on that. And as you mentioned, Sean, a boogie around in DCU here this morning. All that to come over the coming hours. But for now, back to you guys in studio.
Thank you so much, Deric, for that. And of course, there is one story dominating the news. So let's go over to the Virgin Media News Hub. Here is Anne O'Donnell.
Thanks, Maureen. Good morning. Well, the sudden death of Sinead O'Connor has sent shockwaves right around Ireland and beyond, as news broke last evening that the singer has died at the age of 56. Her family released a statement saying that they have been left devastated by the news. Well, Sinead is survived by her 3 children. Here's a look back at her life and her career.
Sinead O'Connor blasted onto the music scene in 1987 with the release of her debut album The Line and the Cobra. Recognised for her shaved head, it was her voice, music and performances that sold the records. Her second album, I Do Not Want What I Haven't Got, catapulted her to worldwide fame with the Prince cover. The beloved Dublin musician released 10 studio albums and experimented with a variety of musical styles during her career. She was forthright in her views on religion, sex and politics, and gained notoriety by ripping up a picture of the Pope on Saturday Night Live in a protest against child abuse. The outspoken artist was equally honest about her own struggles, but continued to perform despite them.
I don't want to waste the life God gave me, and I don't think that it's too late to save me.
Paying tribute, the Taoiseach has said her music was loved around the world and her talent was unmatched. The mother of 4 is survived by 3 children after her son died last year. Trish Laverty, Virgin Media News.
Well, the tributes have been continuing to pour in this morning, and the President and the Taoiseach have been leading those tributes to the singer. President Michael D. Higgins says her voice was extraordinarily beautiful and unique, while Leo Varadkar says her music was loved around the world. Speaking on The Tonight Show last night, musicians who worked with her also shared their memories of Sinead.
She had a God-given voice. I mean, I've worked with a lot of major talents in the studio, but Sinead was exceptional. I mean, she had a voice that was otherworldly. But she was someone of very firmly held beliefs, and which she was quite happy to expound upon. But the irony was she was always very fragile. Even at the best of times, there was a fragility about Sinead.
The last time I did a concert with her was with Shannon down in Listowel, and she was with her band, and she was wearing her hijab and her under her new name, and we hung out after, and we started just telling jokes, and she was very, very funny. I mean, I got into a joke session with her and Shane McGowan one evening and a few others. Great. And I'm not joking you. Like, those guys knew how to have a laugh. And those guys had a little bit of a sparring thing going on for years as well. And they were having great crack.
In other news this morning, mortgage interest rates are set to rise again as the European Central Bank is expected to hike rates by 0.25% when it meets this afternoon. Here's the latest.
Another meeting of the European Central Bank and another rate rise expected this afternoon, this time an increase of 0.25%. It'll be the 9th such hike since July of last year, but it's hoped it could be the last for a while. Market analysts had been expecting another increase in September, but say that's looking less likely. The mortgage rate hikes by the ECB are to bring inflation back down from recent record highs to its 2% target. Tracker mortgage customers will see an almost immediate increase in their loan rate, while those on variable rates are also likely to see a hike in their repayments soon. Homeowners on fixed rates coming to an end will need to prepare for higher repayments. Aisling Roach, Virgin Media News.
Elsewhere, this consumer watchdog has said it will be monitoring winter sales to make sure shoppers are getting genuine discounts. Businesses are being warned that the Competition and Consumer Protection Commission will be watching to ensure customers are not being misled. It follows the introduction last year of new rules on price reductions and comes as many retailers plan their Black Friday and end-of-year campaigns.
We compare 14 insurance quotes to get you the best deal. So choose chill and work smarter, not harder.
Thank you, Jaron. A very good morning. We're live here from the grounds of DCU in Drumcondra in Dublin. Coming up over the next coming hours now, we've got a morning of movement coming your way with the Dance Yourself Fit crew. So lots of fun, lots of fitness. Get your dancing shoes on with us later on this morning. That's all to come over the coming hours. Now, we're slipping past 7 o'clock here together. Let's take an opening look at weather together with Conan Doyle with us on cameras. And following all that rain we had yesterday evening, an improving one out there this morning. Mainly dry and settled. Misty and damp out there this morning with some light showers trailing through parts of County Dublin into central Cork as well in those light westerly winds. Now across today, in fact, it is that mixture of sunshine and scattered showers. Game of cat and mouse with them as we edge our way across today. Winds picking up pace for a time, especially for those Atlantic coastal counties, and again quite muggy, quite humid in terms of those valleys. Top temps of 16 to 21 degrees, so on the up a degree from yesterday. Finally then tonight, mainly dry and settled for a time. Good clear skies allowing for some patchy mist to take us through tonight and into tomorrow morning. And another pretty settled one as we edge our way into the weekend with overnight lows there back to 12 to 15 degrees. So that's how it's shaping up here from a damp but settled DCU in Dublin at the moment. We'll be back again live 7:35.
Chill Insurance work harder so you can work smarter. We compare 14 quotes to get you the best deal.
It's time now to take a look at this morning's papers where one story dominates. It is, of course, the tragic passing of Dublin singer Sinead O'Connor at the age of just 56. We begin with the Irish Independent. Its headline, Sinead. A picture of her covers the paper and it says her music evoked the pain, hidden and overt, of Ireland and its people. She was part of us.
The Examiner leads with a child of Ireland, our girl, Sinead, our beloved friend. The paper also covers yesterday's CAMS report that urges an overhaul of Children's Mental Health Commission.
And it's interesting on the day that Sinead spoke out so much about her own child, Shane's mental health, and the HSE and their treatment of children, that they were both there on the front pages. Heartbreaking, actually. The Irish Times headline, she had a unique voice and a take no prisoners defiance.
Vulnerable, powerful and pure is the top story on the Daily Mail. Sinead was an enchanting voice, a courageous campaigner and a wounded soul who the nation fell in love with more than 3 decades ago.
The Sun leads with nothing compared. Sinead's sudden passing has come just 18 months after her son Shane's death. Her last social media post reveals her anguish, writing, "Been living as undead night creatures since."
The Mirror goes with Nothing Compared to You, Sinead. Taoiseach Leo Varadkar also paying tribute, describing her as beyond compare.
The Star leads with Sinead. Tributes have poured in from all over the world after Sinead O'Connor's death. The outspoken performer shot to fame with her hit single Nothing Compares to You, which sold millions of copies globally.
And finally, the Herald goes with Nothing Will Compare to You. Sinead's devastated family announced her passing last night and have requested privacy at this time. President Michael D. Higgins said Ireland lost one of our greatest and most gifted composers, songwriters and performers.
Now, coming up, of course, we will be remembering Sinead O'Connor, who enchanted and at times, of course, shocked the world.
We'll see you after this short break.
Welcome back now. Yesterday evening, I think everyone was shocked, saddened, kind of staring at their phones going, what are you talking about? When it came up that Sinead O'Connor, one of Ireland's greatest music legends, had passed away.
It's one of the moments you look at the push note coming in and you just go, oh my God, and everyone had the same reaction.
Staring.
Oh my, that, like, something has to be wrong. They've gotten this wrong here, but unfortunately it isn't. And here to reflect on her life and her legacy in music is consultant and commentator Dee Reddy and singer Brian Kennedy. But before we chat to them, let's take a look at some of Sinead O'Connor's greatest hits.
Wanna be haunted by the ghost. It's been so lonely without you here, like a bird without a song. See the flame, but I don't know man because
It's like whole worlds lived in her eyes and in her voice. Thank you both so much for being here. Brian, we'll start with you because, of course, you worked with Sinead so many times over the years. How are you doing today and how were you when you learned of her passing?
Not great. As you say, we all were looking at our phones last night going, what? You're kidding. That has to be a hoax, because people started checking the news outlets, and Ireland, fair play to Ireland for getting to that story first. But at the same time, again, we were thinking, no, that's got to be some ridiculous story. Look, what a privilege it was to know her, to sing with her. I never, ever heard of her, a voice like it in my life. And I'm glad that you showed some footage of Monday talking about how funny she was. We had such a laugh too. So as much as I think of the Joni Mitchell song, you know, don't it always seem to go, you don't know what you've got till it's gone. I think in the coming weeks and months and even the year, it'll really come home to us what an incredible, incredible icon and talent that she was. Hard to talk about her in the past tense right now.
Yeah, it feels so weird to just say was and just, you know, even like you say in the past tense. We all feel we know a version of her, but I mean, you performed with her, you knew her as a friend. What was she like in those settings that we mightn't have seen?
She was incredibly generous, like a lioness and a lamb in one breath, you know. I remember we were recording with Van Morrison and Phil Coulter there, a song called You Make Me Feel So Free. And it was the time when she was kind of singing in a whisper all the time. She'd just come down to a little whisper. And I was kind of teaching her the song. And I have to tell you, she learned it in about 2 seconds flat. Brian Masterson was recording her in Windmill Lane there in Dublin. And, you know, within a couple of takes, she had the whole song. So on one hand, you're dealing with somebody who seems incredibly fragile, but sometimes fragility is an incredible strength. And I think she had that in spades. And as a musician, she was peerless. You know, she was able to learn tunes and lyrics so fast and get them down. Yeah, it was amazing to work with her. And then, of course, if it's all right to say so, we would have a real laugh about the kind of men that we fancied and who we thought was gorgeous in the building we were in and all of that kind of stuff. It was really funny. If we were backstage somewhere, we'd go, what do you think of that fellow over there? And we'd have a real laugh about it, you know. So she was bold in a really wonderful, wonderful way.
This is so lovely to hear, Brian, because we do think of Sinead as this tortured soul. And I remember years ago before Tinder, she set up a Gmail account. I think it was in 2011. I was talking to her on the radio. She set up a Gmail account to be like, I'm single, I'm looking for a man. Come here, will you email me?
Exactly. And so we would have a real laugh about that, you know, and her taste in music was incredible. I remember, again, we recorded a wonderful duet called I Dreamt I Dwelt in Marble Halls from the Bohemian Girl of all things. There was the greatest Bohemian girl of all, Sinead O'Connor. You know, so it's a song called I Dreamt I Dwelt in Marble Halls. And she came to the studio. We recorded the audio in the morning and the video in the afternoon. And she waited until the very end of the day saying, now, you sure you have enough? Have you got enough footage? Do you have everything you need? She couldn't have been more generous of spirit in that moment. And again, a right laugh. We'd have such a giggle about, like I say, who we thought was gorgeous that week and who wasn't, you know.
And Dee, you could always see that joy really from her. The one that stands out to me is the Late Late Show performance she did only a couple of years ago in the Burqa in full red, and a really passionate, powerful performance that nothing compares to you. And then at the end, she turns to the camera and there's just this smile, it's cheeky, it's like full of joy and full of happiness. She just loved performing.
Yeah, and she was like utterly captivating when she did, and in fact she was captivating even when she wasn't performing. She was an incredibly warm and as you say, wearing humorous individual. Like, that was one of the things I loved about her 2021 memoir Rememberings. I listened to the audiobook instead of actually reading the written word, and there was something to me so special about hearing her own story and her own words in her own voice, because there was, you know, elements to that book or passages from it that if you were reading it yourself, you might think were really, really harsh, but actually she brought the humour and the cheekiness to it that it comes across so well.
And there's a picture of her actually on the back of the book, her at her confirmation, and I think listening to it, hearing her voice and how she laughs, because she does say at the opening of that, you know, there's people, and she talks about the two voices in the book, the pre-ripping up the picture of the Pope and afterwards, because she didn't know who she was for 4 years after that happened in SNL, and the vilification. But she also is like, I haven't mentioned people in this book because of their privacy, and I haven't mentioned lots of people because I know they'll be scanning for their name and I want to annoy them.
Yeah, like, and that's the thing, like she was, I know it's a phrase that gets thrown around a lot, but she was somebody that spoke truth to power. Like, and you know, I was watching the documentary, Nothing Compares to You, that came out last night. And there's a bit in it where, in the aftermath of that incident in 1992 on Saturday Night Live, loads of people were asking her, you know, was she ready to deal with the consequences? And she was like, but I never wanted to be a pop star. The consequences aren't for me. They're from everybody else that was trying to make a buck out of me doing that. And like, she was just so incredibly brave, and everything that she spoke out about, and this is what I find so interesting about her, is, you know, because there was one clip they showed, and it was a group of comedians kind of, you know, making a joke out of the fact that she was jumping on different political issues, as if there was an element of bandwagoning to it. But that wasn't the case. She was just one of those incredibly rare and brave humans that, when they see an injustice and when they see something that's not right with the world, spoke out about it, and regardless of what that meant for her.
And it's really interesting, she wrote that book, Brian, in two parts. She sort of, in 2015, wrote right up to the night before SNL, and then in 2019 finished it and went on to do everything else. I suppose while the world wide, and maybe the media at the time, was going totally mad about what she did and ripping up the picture of the Pope, like, within the music industry, what was the sense of what she was doing? Was it the same kind of judgmental attitude, or did people sort of, they get her even at that time?
Well, for me, it was just a real indication of what a brave heart she was. As Dee says there, you know, I mean, if you really want to find out about her, that book, Rememberings, is written in her own words, at her own pace. And you get such an insight into Sinead, you know, again, the playfulness, but my God, the trauma that woman went through and overcame. You know, there's an amazing record that she did with Phil Ramone called Am I Not Your Girl? And there's a song called Success Has Made a Failure of Our Home. And it breaks my heart every time I hear it, because it basically sums her up in a way that I don't think she ever set out to be famous or a pop star at all, but she just had a compulsion to sing. You know, that's what the essence of Sinead O'Connor is, that voice, that energy. The commitment to get, again, there was a wonderful moment recently where she basically just posted, hey, are there any LGBTQ youth, are there any trans youth out there who can't afford to buy makeup? I've loads of makeup I've never opened, just come out to the house and I'll give it to you. Like, that's the kind of person she was. She was like, oh yeah, you probably need a bit of makeup, do you? So come out to the house and I'll give it to you. So generous of spirit, so reacting to the news in front of her. And it's such an ally for somebody like me. I knew as a gay man, I could count on Sinead. I knew she had my back if I ever needed her to have it.
But it did take its toll. I think, like, we're sitting here, of course she had her family life and everything that happened there, but putting herself out in such a huge way, because I remember when, you know, when Sinead first went on Twitter and it was a way for her to have her stream of consciousness, and you'd be worried about her all the time. I remember having distinctly so many people across Ireland in any form going, Jesus, I wonder, is Sinead okay? Do you know, because it was there, Dee.
Yeah, and I think, you know, I was thinking about this morning on the way in, like, that bravery that it took to speak out and knowing what the consequences would be. Like, she has set up a world where young female artists coming up now, young trans artists, young LGBTQ+ artists, or anyone can feel that they can speak to their fan base about their beliefs. And without people like Sinead O'Connor leading the charge on that world simply wouldn't exist. And, you know, that level of honesty comes through in her music, and it comes through in the issues that she chose to represent throughout her life. And it's an extraordinary legacy to leave behind, you know?
It really is. And I just think it's so lovely, Brian, that you've brought to us to remember that she was a multitude, but we got to remember the humour that this person had.
A riot in the right in the right company. Sinead O'Connor was a riot. She was so funny, loved a filthy joke, loved a little cigarette, loved a whatever, and we just had such a hoot anytime we got together, because I think she felt really safe in the environment. I remember me and her and Daniel O'Donnell getting up at the RTE party somewhere, and nobody was dancing. And Sinead looked at me, she goes, "Shall we get up and dance?" And there she was, you know, me and her, picture this, if you will, me, her and Daniel O'Donnell dancing together in the middle of an empty dance floor to some kind of disco classic. You know, that sums her up, I think.
Thank you, Brian. I'm not even joking. I hope everyone who's watching right now has the three of you doing the honky tonk.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely beautiful. I know it's going to be, you know, days and weeks of remembering and sadness for people. But Brian, thank you for bringing the humour of Sinead O'Connor. Brian Kennedy, thank you so much. And Dee Reddy, thank you so much. And
Thanks
as you said, for anyone, the audiobook of her memoir she's right there in your ears. It's gorgeous.
That's the one.
That is the one. Thank you both so much this morning. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hello, welcome back to Ireland AM. Now, it has been 28 years
It's remarkable,
since an Irish athlete won a world championship medal on the track. Sonia Sullivan, that does seem such a long time ago. Rhasidat Adeleke is aiming to change that just next month in Budapest.
Recently, Deric caught up with the Irish sprinter to talk going pro and her Olympic ambitions.
We can be heroes everywhere we go. We can have all that we ever want. Swinging like Ali, rocking our bodies, standing on top like a champion.
Well, our guest here this morning is a rising star in the world of Irish athletics with 6 national record titles under her belt, and having just turned pro, she's got her eyes now firmly set on the World Championships in Budapest later on this year, as well as, fingers crossed, the Olympics in Paris 2024. That is an intro and a half for Sinead O'Connor. Good morning to you.
Good morning, how are you?
How are you getting on?
I'm good.
You're good. You're welcome home first. Great to have you back.
Happy to be back. It's been a while.
Now, you've just turned pro. Tell us about your decision to turn pro.
Just considering that the Olympics are next year, it would just make a lot of sense to be like on a pro cycle, kind of being able to kind of pick my races and just adjust my season to be able to peak for just the Olympics instead of having to do like a whole lot of indoor races and a whole lot of outdoor races. It just made more sense.
You have 2 pro races already under your belt. You took part there recently in the Diamond League in Monaco. How did that go for you?
It was a really good experience. It was a great way to get my legs moving again. I haven't raced since over a month ago, since NCAA. So it was a really good experience, and it was good to kind of get that, you know, whole pro vibe going. So it was. Yeah,
what's it like? Because you've literally stepped from the amateur world now into the pro world, and you're competing at a whole different level.
Yeah, it didn't really, honestly, like. I feel like I've seen a lot of the competitors I compete against, like at Worlds and at European, so it didn't feel like so much of a shock. But like, I guess now understanding like the quick turnabout between races, having to travel a lot, and just trying to get used to that, that was probably the biggest challenge. You've just left the University of Texas. It's been very good to you, the Longhorns. 3 years, you had your scholarship there. Tell us about your journey over there. It was amazing. Like, I absolutely love Texas. Like, I really couldn't have thought of any other school that would be able to compare. So I started there in 2021 in January, and each year I just continued to progress. We have a really good, you know, team dynamic there. It's kind of like a little mini family because you have so many international students as well. So everyone kind of comes from everywhere, and yeah, it's an amazing experience. Being over there, and like, you know, even with school, social life, like just living in Austin in general, it's just an amazing experience. Good buzz. And of course from there you set the national record, a new national record, 49:20. Incredible. Yeah, it was really amazing to be able to do that in front of a home crowd at NCAAs. Like, when it matters most, I was able to produce, so that was also really amazing. And you had success in the relay team as well, the 4x100. Yeah, the 4x1, we also broke the collegiate record in the heats as well. You grew up in Tala, and of course that's where you started your running in Tala with that club. And we spent a morning down there with Mum and all the gang, 80. Fantastic. Yeah. No, like, Tala have been so supportive. Like, when I first started athletics when I was about 12, like, that was like where I started everything, you know. And they really supported me all the way up till I left. So it was just being able to have them like back me till now was just amazing. And do you get home much to visit the athletics club in Tala? Whenever I do come home, like for Christmas or during the summer, I'm always like taking a trip down there, so yeah. And obviously been abroad for a couple of years. Have you missed family life? Yeah, you know, well, my mum calls me every 5 seconds, so... so you're like, get off the phone, Mum. I'm like, I feel like she's in Texas with me, honestly, so... no, but I do miss my family, I miss my friends. Like, as soon as I get back, I'm just like so excited to see everyone, and just like trying to organise, like, okay, let's get food here with this person, let's go to the cinema with this person, just trying to like see everyone again. And you're going to be competing, in fact, coming up this weekend. The National Track and Field Championships are kicking off. Yeah, we have nationals this weekend. I'm really excited to be able to compete in front of the home crowd and just kind of see everyone and just kind of be back home on home turf. So that would be really exciting. What do you do then to relax? What's Rhasidat like off the track? I'm a very kind of a social butterfly as well, so I like hanging out with my friends. You know, the team will often have like barbecues and cookouts and stuff, just for us to kind of get together. So I like doing stuff like that as well. In terms of fashion as well, I follow you on your Instagram. You're quite a stylish girl as well. You've got a vibe going. Mm-hmm. No, yeah, I love like anything fashion, anything beauty. Like, I just like incorporating that into like my track as well, because at the end of the day, like, you know, I'm more than just an athlete, so I like to kind of showcase those type of different sides and my other interests. Yeah, which is great. Speaking of running, the World Championships are on in Budapest in August. Extra pressure now, the fact you've turned pro? Not really, to be honest. At the same time, like, I always put pressure on myself, so it's gonna stay the same regardless if I'm pro or I'm collegiate, because I want, you know, the best for myself and I want to perform. So it's probably gonna pretty much stay the same. Just, I have like really high expectations of myself and just probably keep those the same. And like, Irish women in athletics are having a moment at the moment. We're talking Sophie O'Sullivan, Sarah Lavin, Ciara Megan, to name just a few, setting the standard on the track. Incredible athletes. No, absolutely. Like, I feel like they all deserve the recognition, honestly, because like they've been competing so well, and to be able to be competing at such a high level, when it comes to like Diamond Leagues and the global race and like the under-22 European Championships, like, it's amazing to see so many people succeeding in an Irish vest, because like, you know, usually people be like, oh, Ireland, you're here to participate, but like, no, like, a lot of people are winning medals. People are winning, so it's amazing to see that being showcased. And speaking of medals then, Paris Olympics 2024, the countdown is on. Yeah, the countdown is on, and just
really looking forward to being able to go out there, and with all the support that I have, Allianz, my family, my friends, and just being able to kind of have so many people backing me on the way there is probably the most important thing, to be able to succeed at that level.
Rhasidat for gold?
Hopefully.
Got a nice ring.
That's it.
And remember, when you do get gold, this is where it all started in Ireland. Right?
Absolutely.
You come back and talk to us.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us here this morning, and best of luck in the future.
Thank you.
That's how we do it over here.
Right. Deric is now going through the library footage to be like, surely I was out at some park with Rhasidat when she was like 12 years old and she was winning championships at the community games that we can use when she's Olympic champion.
Yeah, they are his claim to fame, through her.
It was all me. She's phenomenal.
She's unbelievable. And living in Austin, Texas, I'm very jealous. Austin is one of the most amazing cities in the US.
Yeah, she's so cool. And when she won that race for Texas, she was like, yeah, I did grand. I don't really train that much in this race. And these Americans were like, oh my God, she's brilliant.
Yeah, it's going to be an absolute superstar.
Yeah.
Coming up, we are going to be looking at the morning papers, and there's only one story dominating the news really this morning, the sad passing of Sinead O'Connor.
We'll talk about that and other stories that are indeed making the news. That's coming out very shortly on Ireland AM.
Welcome back. Well, for a closer look at what is making the news this morning, we're joined by Lorcan Nyan from the Communications Clinic. Morning.
We certainly are. And of course, Lorcan, the sad passing of Sinead O'Connor, it of course dominates all of the front pages. And unfortunately, it does tie in with the CAMS report that has just been released, because Sinead herself spoke about child and adolescent mental health services and the fall down areas of it. So much, of course, her son Shane was within those services for many years.
Yeah, she spoke so openly about, with her son as well as herself and her own experience as a child. And so, it is, I suppose, particularly apt, but also particularly sad that this report has come out on this day. I think the front page of the Examiner probably captures it quite well, where there's the beautiful large picture of Sinead, but then underneath it, the headline of this report into CAM straight next to it. And it does really, really highlight that we're continuing to fail and continuing to fail children. So there's been this report that has come out on CAMS, on the child and adult mental health services. And I think we throw around terms like damning reports quite often, that they almost lose their meaning. But really listen here, this is a damning report into child and adult mental health services in Ireland. So it was taken by the Mental Health Commission, or run by the Mental Health Commission, into each one of the services in Ireland, and basically we're really, really failing children in Ireland when it comes to their mental health. Some of the quotes from the chair of the Mental Health Commission is very, very stark, that kids, they get forgotten, they disappear.
This is the one that strikes me like as so mental, because whatever about getting into the services, that's hard enough. You think when you get in, you should be looked after. But these lost cases, children who are literally lost in the system.
Yeah, and that's just one aspect of the report, that there were 140 cases, so 140 children or teenagers whose cases were just lost. That there was no follow-up, that they just got lost within the system because the system isn't digitised. We're one of the worst in developed nations of digitised services. So the cases literally just got lost. Now the HSE has looked into them, they've tracked them, they said there's nothing adverse from them, but that was because of the investigation, and we don't know that either, So 140 cases were lost. A couple of the other things coming from the report that deserve focus: there's no regulator for CAMS. There's a regulator for the adult service. There's no regulator for the child and adolescent service. So again, why not? Why was there not a regulator? The investigator cannot say to parents, cannot say that we give a safe, effective and evidence-based service to children. They were not able to stand over. That's a relatively simple statement. And so instead of this being prioritised, which it should be, child and adolescents should be prioritised, they seem to have been diminished. And so there's, 49 recommendations that need to be taken on, and they say they need to be taken on immediately. And I think this report is so wide-ranging that you'll see the headlines in each newspaper, news service are all different. And I think somehow that actually is diminishing the impact of the report, because people are just reading, oh, there's one thing wrong. There's not. There's a huge amount wrong, and trying to wrap your head around the scope of this is actually going to be a challenge, and we need to keep the focus on it.
And there was a parent speaking on the Tonight Show last night about two of her children who were involved in the service, but Richard Hogan, the psychologist, was also like, there's a postcode lottery here. So if you're in Dublin, you're fine, there will be money spent on you. But if you're in Waterford or Wexford, it's half the amount. We don't have anyone in certain services. Certainly we know what's happening in South Kerry in relation to that they're not there. And this comes on the back on Monday when we found out that there were children in foster care who have just gone missing as well. And when they do, we don't know where they are. So what the hell is going on in this country? It is absolutely shocking, and please do take, as Lorcan says, there's 49 indications this report. There's so many issues.
And just
here.
on that postcode lottery, but before we move on, they did point to a model that does work, that there's one of the services that does work, and it's Wicklow, Dunleary and South East Dublin is the one that is working, and people can read into what they want to where that service is.
Absolutely. Moving on to another story, and this is one that I have never heard of before, certainly a bit of history, that the GRA, that the organisation which represents rank and file Gardaí, they're putting forward a vote of no confidence in the Commissioner. Yeah.
So this is, again, I mean, of the day of news it is, this would normally be big news, while now it's obviously being pushed down. They're going to ballot their members to put in a motion of no confidence. So the executive has said, we're going to ballot members, get their view, and if you vote for it, well, then there'll be a motion of no confidence in the Garda Commissioner. The reason that they're doing it is there is a conflict over rosters. There was an emergency roster brought in during COVID, which the GRA want to keep.
They like it.
They like that current roster. Drew Harris and the Garda executive want to change that, so that rather than 12-hour shift, at the moment it's 12-hour shifts, 4 days and then 4 days off. They want to shift it to 10-hour shifts for 6 days and then 2 days off.
And they're also saying, the guards are like, we don't have enough guards to cover that roster, lads.
They're saying that the roster doesn't work because they don't have the guards. And to be fair, they're saying the roster is one of the issues. The other issue they're talking about is the recruitment and retention crisis, in that they're not able to recruit guards, they're not able to keep guards. Guards are retiring earlier, or they're leaving the service in ways they weren't before. So obviously this is coming on the backdrop of the week of conversation about crime in Dublin, resourcing. So there's a whole host of things going on. But I think, Sean, I think your point is the one that's really worth making again. Is this is very unusual. This is not something that is really supposed to happen in a direct report kind of organisation.
And the guards are limited in what they can do, and they can't strike, for example. There's limits by law into what they can do. So this is one way of them getting forward their displeasure.
Laura Nine from the Communications Clinic, thank you so much for joining us. 0896 111 111 to get in contact. We'll be back with you on Ireland AM very shortly. It's time now to take a look at this morning's papers, where one story dominates: the tragic passing of Dublin singer Sinead O'Connor at the age of 56. We begin with the Irish Independent. Its headline, Sinead. A picture of her covers the paper, and it says her music evoked the pain, hidden and overt, of Ireland and its people. She was part of us.
The Examiner leads with the child of Ireland, our girl, Sinead, our beloved friend. The paper also covers yesterday's CAMS report that urges an overhaul of Children's Mental Health Commission.
The Irish Times headline, she had a unique voice and a take no prisoners defiance.
Vulnerable, powerful and pure is the top story on the Daily Mail. Sinead was an enchanting voice, a courageous campaigner and a wounded soul who the nation fell in love with more than 3 decades ago.
The Sun leads with nothing compared. Sinead's sudden passing has come just 18 months after her son Shane's death. Her last social media post reveals her anguish, where she wrote, "Been living as undead night creatures since."
The Mirror goes with nothing compared to you, Sinead. Taoiseach Leo Varadkar also paying tribute, describing her as beyond compare.
The Star leads with Sinead. Tributes have poured in from all over the world after Sinead O'Connor's death. The performer shot to fame with her hit single Nothing Compares to You, which sold millions of copies globally.
And finally, the Herald goes with nothing will compare to you. Sinead's devastated family announced her passing last night and have requested privacy at this time. President Michael D. Higgins saying that Ireland has lost one of our greatest and most gifted composers, songwriters and performers.
And this morning, you've been getting in touch with your thoughts and tributes on Sinead O'Connor. And Mary says, I had my first child in February 1990, and throughout the corridors, Nothing Compares to You was on every 5 minutes. Every year on my son Matt's birthday, we play that song, and we have a sing-song. We all loved her, and we're absolutely devastated to hear the news.
Yeah, I think there's been so many sing-songs down through the years, isn't it? It's just one of those Irish classics.
Well, if people try badly.
Yeah, not to varying degrees of success, but you know, there you go. Dennis texts in saying, a poignant moment moment yesterday when Sinead's passing was announced with the shocking CAMS report being published. If there's one thing we should do to carry on Sinead's legacy, it's to fight for change in our mental health services. And he's dead right. I mean, like, when you look at that, to literally say the state organisation on youth mental health is failing and needs to be widely reformed, as Lorcan was pointing out in the papers, there are so many different headlines because there are so many different things wrong. And to come as, I think the Examiner has done it particularly well, where
very well.
The front fold is a picture of Sinead O'Connor and right below it is that story and all the important details of that report, which should get more coverage later today.
Because it is something that she has been talking about for such a long time, about how not only the mental health services are in our country for everyone, but for children.
Yeah.
Do you know, as what we're doing and how we're failing them. So it's very well done there. Holly, we've lost an Irish singing legend for a small country that has so many artistic talents. Sinead will be remembered as one of the best that we ever had.
Connor also texting in, I saw her in concert back in the 90s in the Old Point Depot. What a special voice. It was mesmerising. God bless her, a truly Irish legend.
And Carol, an honest, troubled and inspirational trailblazer. Sinead used her platform to fight for so many causes, despite the risk it would have on her career. I hope she's at peace. Sinead is a genuine Irish hero, and it's lovely to hear how you feel about her. And, you know, if you saw her, if you chatted to her, we'd love to hear from you as well. It's 0896 111 111, and thank you so much for all the messages that you have been sending in on this.
And after the break, we're going to be continuing that discussion, remembering Sinead O'Connor, the trailblazer, with a fiery temperament at times, but an irresistible voice.
Welcome back to Ireland AM. Now, of course, Sinead O'Connor was a renowned musician who captivated the world with her powerful music and, of course, her daring actions.
Joining us now to share memories and discuss the career highlights of the late, great Sinead O'Connor, our singer and actress Camille O'Sullivan, and Today FM's Ed Smith. Morning to you both. Camille, I might start with you, because we had Brian Kennedy here earlier, and he was talking about all the really positive memories and what a character she was that we maybe mightn't have seen on screen or mightn't have seen her. So, like, what was she like to know as a friend?
I was so devastated last night to hear it, because the times that I've met her backstage or working with her, well, she was just like a lovely child, and always mischievous humour and always joking. And the first time I actually had the joy of meeting her, and I was talking to Fergal I worked with, he said, do you remember at the back at the Abbey when her lovely brother Joseph was doing some of his stuff on stage and she was supporting him? She ran after you because she had a mole exactly where you have a mole, and she chased you with her face trying to catch you. And I was like, this is so surreal, Sinead O'Connor's doing this and I'm going on stage, what's happening? And anyway, so she was having a great laugh, and next minute this little person just went, which you had said to, just walked up on stage, and I just sat there, and I had forgotten, because of course I grew up with her. She was the soundtrack to our lives, and she just transformed, and she had something so amazing in her. And I remember looking at her going, don't forget to be fearless. She was singing for herself. She wasn't playing to the gallery. And then she came off, and then she was joking again and just being lovely. She was very kind. And I think that's the thing, is like, and then there was another time we sang for Shane McGowan's show, and she was backstage having a sneaky cigarette going, they're looking for me, she's hiding in a bush. And I said, Sinead, let's just duck, like, you know. And she was just a gorgeous person. Like, she had, you know, I remember years ago, before I ever had the luck of meeting her, I remember walking up Grafton Street, and a long black kind of coat, which looked like a cloak, and she looked like she was floating. I mean, I think the Dice Man was at one side, and then she was coming down, and I thought, is this what Dublin is about? But she just, you know, a lot of performers have one type of personality, or like on stage another. She was who she was. And I think, you know, what amazed me about her was she was such an iconic person, and somebody with maybe not as much talent wouldn't talk to you you know, but she never was like that. Like, she was always down there for the chat and the laugh, and that she was very funny. Like, her humour was brilliant. Like, I'm really feeling for her family and stuff today. It's such a loss. She was very kind to other people. Like, she struggled so much, but she really did look to others to help them, you know.
What I'm really appreciating this morning, Ed, is these wonderful stories of people who knew her, who are talking about the fun of Sinead O'Connor, because she's been on a global stage since 1988. An awful lot of us don't remember life before we knew the name Sinead O'Connor. And she put herself out there in such a huge way and became viral before viral was a thing.
Well, if you think about it, you know, I suppose we should really focus on the voice and the talent.
Yes.
Because nobody can or will ever sing a song. Like Sinead O'Connor, we were talking backstage. Sorry, it's a bit showbiz, but we were saying that as soon as she sang a song, it was over. That was the definitive version. Move on, she's claimed it. You know, and I think we were talking about All Apologies, the Nirvana cover. Like, I'm a huge Nirvana fan, but that's her song now. You know, and then she moved through the fair for the Michael Collins soundtrack. It's done. That's hers now. So she had this incredible ability, and I think she channeled so much of her own personal pain and anger and her childhood traumas, and then her, obviously, the pain she went through and the anger she went through what was going on in the world. She was the budgie in the mind for so many issues.
And she was ahead of her time.
Yeah,
like when
like
you
any
think
great
now,
artist,
you'd think, oh God, she's saying those things. But, you know, when you thought of what she did on SNL and she got challenged for and cancelled for it, it was very painful to see that. But she stood up for things. And maybe as a woman, that wasn't a thing that was, maybe if you'd been a man, it was a different thing. But at our time, like I remember, like as you said, I remember a good friend of mine in school saying that about Nobody Compares to You. I wanted to be a songwriter, but now the best songs, it's game over. And all the songs she touched. But I think, you know, I think what was sad was that she had that humour, she had that kindness, and she was an activist. Like, and, you know, when they all said, oh, you've wrecked your career. She said, well, actually, I've always just wanted to be an activist and sing songs. So she always came back at them. I even remember that there was some spat or somebody saying you were crazy a few years ago. And she answered, I was like, you don't take Sinead. She's going to come for you.
She is going to come.
Know? But I think now maybe it's more like if the kids of today be like, what are you on about? Why was that so sensational? Because we were saying at that time it would have been Cyndi Lauper and Madonna. And that kind
87.
of like Madonna would have been a different type of performer. But with Sinead, it was the voice. It was that presence and all those appearances on the Late Late Show and showing that vulnerability or seeing the close-up and Nobody Compares to You. She was all truth. And her truth was off stage and on stage. And that's, you know, even watching last night some of the ones of her doing Bob Dylan's The Time Is A-Changing.
She made people
just
uncomfortable. She made you, I mean, you couldn't take your eyes and ears off her. But at the same time, even going back to the videos we were talking about for Nothing Compares to You, it's an upsetting. It's so raw. And the tear, and then she's revealed afterwards she was thinking about her relationship with her mother, which was very troubled and abusive. And then she would just look away and the tear would come down and you're going, there's no artifice here, there's no, it's real. And I think that's what made people, if you look at going back to the Late Late Show again, famously, it was an uncomfortable relationship. Now, Gay Byrne, very paternal.
You did seem to care for her.
You know, but
way. But then at times, you know, it's kind of been reevaluated. But it's whatever Sinead would allow to happen because, as you said, she was innocent and raw. But people have with the Nothing Compares, like Lee and Miley Cyrus have tried to do that Nothing Compares to You thing. But as you say, that song. It's Sinead's song. But it's not Sinead's song. People didn't know for years
we didn't know,
Prince
had written it.
And no one...
And then you hear Prince singing and you're going, stop doing Sinead's song. I know you wrote it. I know you did, but it's not yours
And those sort of things
anymore.
led to fractious relationships in her life.
So her and Prince famously had a very difficult relationship where she claimed that I think she was using... He was quite for all his reputation as being this guy and that guy, he was quite a straight man. And he didn't like people using bad language. Enter Sinead O'Connor. You know, effing and jeffing and, you know, this. And he just did not. And of course, I would say, this is me. I can say this now, but maybe he was a little resentful
that she was better.
That she'd taken the song and his song.
But no, it's also her spiritual quality she seemed to bring to every song. Like she, you know, there was like the line in The Cobra, that thing of like fire... Or what, you know, Brian had said, what was it, the lamb and the tiger. Like, that's who she was. She could bring out fire on stage. And it was quite an extraordinary thing to see because I'd forgotten that fearlessness performers. You know, I was trying to think of whose voice she had, and there's nobody like her at all. The only person I could think of was before her, Moya Brennan, with the beauty of that voice. And Aina, like I found out that Lion of the Cobra, she was pregnant with her first child. Aina had sung on the album. But then later, of course, her little baby mentor, Dolores O'Riordan. But we will never probably hear a voice. Like it was always, like you'd hear it and go, how did she do that? And I also read last night, she come into a sound check, like they were saying, one of the fellas on the Late, not just go in, do it. No faff. And I remember that stage at the Abbey too, and I was kind of trembling backstage because I thought, I'm so close to seeing something so incredible.
Well, you remember the way she held the microphone? We were talking about this. She had to, if you remember when she was singing,
the power.
She would have to pull her hand away. Such was the power of her own voice. She'd have to kind of regulate it herself. I've never seen anything like it since.
It's amazing to watch, actually.
She would pull it back, and it was just what an instrument she had.
It's sort of remarkable. And I think Tom Dunn described her really well in the Examiner this morning as ferocious but frail.
Yeah, and she was.
She had this really... I was listening to an interview she did with Blind Boy, actually, when she was promoting the book, and she said that when she was creating, everyone thinks it's all this angst and all the trouble of her past, but actually it was when she was well that she was most creative.
Yeah.
And that, what we don't maybe appreciate about Sinead O'Connor is she had this brilliant side to her that maybe we didn't get to see, but you got to see.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be lovely if people just even looked at the documentary, or it's such a sad thing to be, like last night, I was kind of shaken when I heard it because it's who we grow up with, and you feel we with the Late and all those shows, we felt we were on that journey with her. And, even though she went through these terrible mental health, which was so hard to watch, people did lean out to her and she lent out to others too. In the end, it's so sad what happened with her son and with herself. But if they could see what her, in some way, if we can learn from her and her legacy, and yes, there was this. I think it was her. Not say it wasn't her downfall. It's what we didn't understand at the time because she was ahead of herself. Is that she was like a child. She did say what she wanted to say sometimes, and she didn't care. She didn't think about the consequences. Not that she didn't care, because I do think you see this thing with Chris Christopherson. It did hurt her that people turned, but I think her whatever passion she had inside her, which we were so lucky that she had as a singer, she had it as an activist. And there are like racism, the abortion, everything. She did speak. She made people uncomfortable.
She spoke about it before anyone. 1992.
I know.
On the Late Show, talking about abortion.
Oh God!
And I was a child looking at it, going, I could feel the whole country diving behind their sofa. And there she was with Gay Byrne.
He seemed to
talking about mental health and abortion and child sex abuse, and everyone's going, no, you can't say these things.
I know.
But she was 10 years ahead of her time.
Yeah.
And to show that vulnerable side of her mental health before anyone even had the words or language. But again, we need to just, focus on the 10 studio albums, the countless collaborations. And again, I'd go back and tell people to listen to some of her cover versions or interpretations.
Absolutely, and find the things where she's having the jokes. Because she had the humour, she was just adorable. I mean, I would just say what emanated from her, whatever strife was, I just remember a sprightly little, beautiful little fairy, lightness and love and kindness. And that is what she had. And I was like a little nobody in backstage with her chasing the mole going. And I was I was going Sinead, and she couldn't have cared less she was Sinead. She had that real beauty inside. And, I know. No, it was like that right up against. There was a good... And Mrs. Brown's, the tea, that was going on at the background too. She was just laughing at the two of us. But we were running around the back of the Abbey. And then she caught me at the end. There was no photograph to get it, but I was like chin to chin going, I caught your mole, Camille. And I was like... And we hugged. It was the madness, and joyfulness of who she was, And
I'd like to thank you both this morning for coming in and remembering that, because her family have lost... to think of her family this morning and what they're going through.
Yeah.
And she was focused on, for so much of her life, for decades of her life, the spotlight on her. But to remember the talent and the joy.
She's 56 is too young, but she left an incredible body of work.
Yeah.
People should...
Never forgotten.
Those of you who aren't acquainted with her...
Do.
Again, the second album in particular is a song called The Last Day of Our Acquaintance. Which, even now I'm thinking about it, gets me welled up. But it's such a beautiful song to think about on the day after she has passed. That's the one I'd recommend people listen to right now.
Thank you so much, Ed Smith from Today FM and Camille O'Sullivan. Thank you so much for sharing your memories and your thoughts on Sinead O'Connor this morning. We really do appreciate it.
Perfect coffee every time. Tassimo sponsors cookery on Ireland AM.
Now, this morning, They have us all dressed up for a healthy snack option for those who are on the go.
I mean, if there's one person who can get us to dress up on a day like today, it is Joe Shannon.
You know what?
Of
I'd have
course.
me in any of my kitchens.
Thank you so much, Joe.
You say that now, wait
Thanks
6
so
minutes.
much. Thank you so much, Joe.
Any of my kitchens. And before I start, could I genuinely give my sympathies to Sinead's family, her kids, extended family. I had the pleasure of meeting her on a number of occasions. She stayed in the hotel. A beautiful, beautiful lady, totally unassuming. She wasn't, let me tell you, I met lots of stars who weren't as big as Sinead, who were a handful to deal with, whereas Sinead was just a beautiful lady. She just sat quietly, had a joke, had a laugh, and I got to know her quite well over the years. But just lovely, lovely lady, and I'm just so sorry to hear of her passing.
Joe,
really,
thank you so much for letting us into that part. It's lovely to hear these things about her today. So thank you so much.
Genuine. She was like, at the time, she must thought he was Ireland's biggest star ever internationally as a solo artist, and just beautiful. Anyway, for me,
and it's lovely to have you here today.
Thank you,
lovely
thank you
to have
so
you here
much.
Today.
And
so what are we doing?
I was thinking of protein balls because what happens to me at times is. Maybe because of my treatment or stuff like that, in between I go mad for chocolate.
Yes. Right.
And I end up eating mountains and mountains and mountains of chocolate. A lot of people that are on their cancer journeys will tell you the same. And the danger, of course, of that is diabetes, all right? So you're always looking for some alternatives. So this is so simple, all right? I'm starting off with some dried dates, all right? Pitted dried dates. You could use apricots here. You could use prunes here. Just if you don't like dates.
Okay.
250 grams into a mixing bowl. Very, very simple, right? And what you would do, I'm not going to do a whole lot of mixing here because of telling you, but you would just mix that for, a minute or so till it gets nice and soft. And then, when that's done, you would add basically 150 grams, roughly, give or take, of peanut butter or almond butter. And if you're allergic to nuts, what I would suggest then is put in some honey. If you wanted it, a little bit of honey. Yeah, nice local honey, Irish honey.
Unless, how much would you suggest of the honey?
Again, with the honey, not as much, because you're trying to keep the sugar content down, so you would be going roughly about 50 grams of honey.
Lovely.
But what it would do would just help the consistency and the flavour.
Yes.
All right? Now, I'm using some porridge oats. If you are gluten-free, get gluten-free diet oats. No problem at all. Again, about 100, 160 grams of them. A little bit of chocolate needs to go in, just to add that little bit. Absolutely. And again, about 100 grams goes in. And then, just to keep the energy levels up, a nice little, you give or take yourself. I'm using flax seeds, you could use sunflower seeds, whatever the case is. All that into your mixing bowl, and you give that a blitz for about 3-4 minutes until you have a consistency like this.
Like this.
That's in front of you. And then what I want you to do is I want you to make some balls for me.
I'm also just thinking that if you actually... Sorry, I just heard what he said there.
Yeah.
I jumped on your joke, Joe.
I get the giggle a bit too early.
I'm so sorry.
So,
because I'm just thinking that this is money saving.
Absolutely.
Because if you go out, you can buy these now these days. They're up to about €4 or €5.
Yeah, and they keep for ages and they can freeze as well.
Brilliant.
So,
I'm sorry for jumping on your jokes.
How big or how small you want your balls is up to you. So, into your hands, give them a nice rolling. Come on there.
A nice medium-sized ball here.
I'm looking forward to seeing what size that both of you like. That's all.
So a nice roll in between the hands, all right?
Therapeutic.
And then...
Oh, Shannon.
I'm going to keep one plain. That's a nice plain one.
Okay.
You have some chocolate there. So maybe dip one into some chocolate, Sean.
Right.
Yeah.
Your ball into the chocolate.
Put it in and we give it a little...
Your ball into the chocolate.
Can you imagine if Alan Hughes was here?
Oh, my
God.
God.
That's all I'm saying. Can you imagine if Alan Hughes...
We're not going to one of those videos, wouldn't it?
We're not going to go as viral with us, I'm afraid.
No. So that goes in. Now, use your spoon. I have some spoons left beside you.
Oh,
lovely.
Give it a nice coating, nicely over. All right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you add... And again, right, some people say, that's chocolate, that's fattening. But the point is, you're just adding a light coating to it. And I had some chopped nuts beside you, then,
Yeah.
Just put them into the nuts. And I had some coconut, some nice toasted coconut with you, Sean.
Lovely.
And what I've literally done with those nuts and the coconuts is I've toasted them on a pan.
That's a big ball.
There we are. Look at that. Look at that. Get the nuts all over it.
Girl knows what she wants.
You want
cover that nuts.
You want to cover the nuts. You're all covered with nuts. Miriam, can you do that for me? No, seriously, just cover them all over.
I don't want to cover them.
And if, Sean, you get your ball and cover it with coconut, OK? If you don't mind.
Okay,
Joe!
That was just saying, right? And my one is nicely covered in chocolate. You see that? Yeah, look at that. Lovely.
Do you know I wasn't thinking of any of the innuendo when we were doing this earlier on? It just didn't even enter my head.
And then you got me.
And then you arrived. There we go.
There you have it. And it's that simple. So the beauty is then you can keep them in an airtight container, let them dry out, keep them in an airtight container in a dry place, and they will keep for up to a week if you don't freeze them. And they are just very, very to have. When you have that urge for, like me, that big load of chocolate, and the trouble is when I buy chocolate, I'll buy the biggest bar of chocolate.
Yeah.
I won't stop. The trouble is, I'm a glutton. I end up taking. I won't just take one piece and have manners and eat it. I end up just once I take one piece, I'm eating, and you end up with this lovely little presentation here. And this is for you.
Oh, there's the hat.
The hat is gone. John Strike.
I got too excited by all the balls.
And here's a little plate for you. And what would you like, Miriam? Would you like a coconut-coated ball, a chocolate-coated ball, or a mixed nuts?
I'll go mixed nuts,
Mixed
please.
nuts for you, all right? There's a ball with nuts for you.
I'm open to all.
And Sean, what would you like?
Just give me a nice big ball. I don't...
all right, we'll give you a chocolate-coated one. How is that? And now,
I'm gonna send
have
this.
a little taste and tell me what
I'm going to send this to Alan.
Yes.
And I'm going to have him rate how badly we did the innuendos. Because he's like, I would have killed that. It would have been, it would have been great.
Kept it nice and respectful. Fair play to you.
We tried our hardest to keep it nice and respectful.
It's not even 9 o'clock yet. We've done well.
What do you think?
They're delicious.
Isn't the flavour really nice?
That is so good.
The one question I have, right?
Yes.
How much protein is in a protein ball?
As in grams of protein? Well,
is it actually a good protein?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. And it's a slow release of protein as well, of energy.
Okay.
So it energises you as well, which is the beauty. So instead of getting your protein maybe, from red meat or whatever the case is, or from a meat, it's a great alternative from that. And then it's a great alternative to keep you away from sweets and stuff like that. So it's a healthier type part to it.
And there was an amazing study on dates and how good they are for cognitive function as you get older as well the other day. Joe Shannon.
Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Joe.
Lovely to have.
I must say, your balls look beautiful. They really do.
He's here all day, folks. He's here all day. Joe and his balls. Thank you so much,
You're
Joe.
very, very
we appreciate
welcome.
it. Thank you.
Now,
maybe for the last time.
From our...
No, Alan's back next week. You're coming in and doing this again.
Right, from our beautiful balls to Deric's beautiful balls next, because he's hitting the ballroom. Have your boogie shoes at the ready.
Proper political report here. I love it. We'll talk to you in a minute.
Perfect coffee every time. Tassimo sponsors cookery on Ireland AM.
Welcome back. We've calmed down, haven't we? No more innuendos?
You've calmed down. I'm not so sure.
Hi, Deric. He never needs an excuse to shake those hips, miss. Bada, shake those hips. Yeah.
And this morning he swapped the disco for the gym. Tell us more, Deric.
Yeah, guys, they call me Snake Hips. Welcome down here. We're bringing lots of fun, lots of positivity down here to DCU. Given the morning that's in it, I suppose. Nikki and Wendy are with us now for Dance Yourself Fit. Wendy, we'll start with you. Tell us about Dance Yourself Fit.
OK, so Dance Yourself Fit, our brainchild behind the company, our fabulous, wonderful boss man, Mr. Niall Newman. He's a former dance sport competitor, I should say. He coached, he would have adjudicated on the international platform within the ballroom dance scene. Niall retired about 20 years ago and decided that's it, enough's enough. He danced so many years, so he hung up his dancing shoes. But thank God for us, everyone here today, everyone in Ireland, the UK, worldwide, he decided to dust off his dancing shoes and get back into the glitter and glam of the dance world. So
and tell us about the dance classes here this morning.
Yeah, so today, as you can see, Niall has created this wonderful space for people. He's created this environment, this wonderful wellness program for everyone. Doesn't matter what age you are, so regardless of your age, your dance ability, your fitness ability, he's created this for everyone to enjoy. So the benefits of dancing is is unbelievable for the mind, the body, the soul.
And I mean, I've been watching you here this morning.
Yes.
I mean, you get a good, proper workout, don't you?
Absolutely, absolutely. You'd burn up to between 500 to 700 calories per class. We do 1 hour classes, and they're absolutely brilliant. High cardio. So between the two combinations that we have, our ballroom style dancing, as you can see behind us, and then also our high, full packed American style Latin dancing. It's full speed ahead, fired feet, and
off you go.
It's brilliant. High calorie, high cardio workout.
Yeah, letting rip on the dance floor. Nikki, what I love about this is that there's great camaraderie here amongst all the ladies, and in fact there's men here as well.
Absolutely. Look, we don't exclude anybody from our classes, so everybody's more than welcome. And the camaraderie is massive. It's worldwide. During COVID, Niall took the programme online. So,
and you said to me earlier on, it exploded actually online because you all had to meet up online to dance.
We were doing Zoom classes, so like for me, I'm a mother of 3, so I was waving at these women because, I was in a more male environment at home. So all these people are my best friends now, and it was great for me because I just moved to Ireland and just as COVID hit, so it was great.
And what we were saying was that it's for both men and women, and there's a lot of women here as well. There's a lot of single women here this morning, a lot of them on Tinder, I heard. But you're also looking for men. So if there's any single men out there...
Yeah, do not be shy. Give it a try. It's the most fun you'll ever have whilst exercising. We absolutely promise you that. Movement's medicine. It is just the feel-good factor you get when you leave the class. You see people arrive, they've had a bad day in the office or the kids have drove them mad. They come to the class and it's just like going to a concert or something. Every night of the week is just amazing.
Wendy, we have Susan McFadden, my McFadden's sister. She said it's like a live karaoke section, isn't it?
It's absolutely fabulous. The magic here in the room is unreal. Everyone's here to have fun while getting fit. Like we said, regardless of your age, as you can see, there's people from the age of 18 right up to 75. It's wonderful.
It is wonderful. Well, I believe we're going to change tempo now because Chris Kerwin is up on the stage. Chris, you're our dance instructor, of course. Chris, you were in Manchester as well for a while.
I am, yeah. We started in Manchester in January and a great reception over there, so we're flying.
All right, you're going to take over the class now. We're going to turn up the tempo here. So let rip. Ladies, are you ready to let rip? Off we go. So, Chris, you take over.
Let's go. Hey! Hey! Up! Hey! There, let's go! 5, 6, let's go! Hey! Hips, let's go! Up! Hey! What do we do? Let's go, Dave!
There we go. By the way, where can we find out more online?
We go!
DanceYourselfFit.com across all their socials as well.
Ready?
We're having lots of fun. We'll see you guys in the studio.
I have never danced so much before 9
I'm not
a.m.
even joking. You know how sad I am that the dawn is out and he doesn't have to go into Leinster House after doing all this stuff on Ireland AM.
Do you know this is going out, so they will record it?
Someone please ring him. We'll be back with you in Ireland AM in just a minute. Talk to you in a second to get our breath back. Woo! Hello, welcome back to Ireland AM. And this morning, you have been kind enough to send in your thoughts, your wishes, and your memories of Sinead O'Connor, who tragically passed away yesterday. I think everyone, as we mentioned earlier on, when they saw that push notification on their phone or when they heard it on the radio or on the news, just like, sorry, what?
They had gut punch.
And our thoughts are, of course, with her family, her friends, and everyone this morning. Laura, devastating news about Sinead. Similarly to Christy Dignam passing, we need to stop paying tributes to these people when they pass and truly worship their talents when we have them here.
Yeah, it's one of those big shames, isn't it, that we always say the nicest things about people when they're not around to hear it anymore. And, you wonder, did Sinead know how loved that she was across the country? You have to hope.
You hope that she did, because whenever she decided to go out on tour, like they were gone, everyone was trying to get to a Sinead O'Connor gig.
And some of the intimate gigs she did in the last few years as well, like, were just
Special.
outstanding by all accounts. Mark is one of the texters in. He says it takes a special talent to cover a Prince song and then make it your own. Very true. I don't think we need to say much more than that about Sinead's talents.
Sinead song. Like, we all know nothing compares to you with Sinead song. We've got a picture here that Linda very kindly sent in to us this morning. Look at that.
Wow.
That is so beautiful. And Linda just says, "Hi all, I just did a quick sketch, unfinished. It's a small tribute to Sinead. I started it last night after I heard the news, and this is what came pouring out of Linda." And that's an iconic photo of Sinead that she's done there. Linda, that is beautiful. And thank you so much for sending that in to us this morning. It's really, really gorgeous.
I love that kind of creativity fosters creativity as well. You know, it's just, it's absolutely amazing to see. And thanks so much for sending that in, Linda. Wendy, another text in. "Within all the sadness, I can't help but think that Sinead is now at peace. She can rest and now be with her son, Aryeshde Goreva Anam." And that is very true as well.
We really do hope that she is in some way at peace. And there's been so many messages sent in. And we really, really do appreciate it. We'll be back with more news and what's going on. We're going to be talking about the Sinead O'Connor documentary very shortly right here on Ireland AM. Welcome back to Ireland AM. It is that time of the week where we've got some movie and TV picks for you from our movie and TV guy. It's Brian Lloyd from entertainment.ie. Hello and good morning. It's lovely to have you here. We're going to speak, first of all, about, you've spoken about it before, and it's going to be showed this weekend, the documentary on Sinead O'Connor.
Yeah, nothing compares. So it's going to be on Now TV and Sky Documentaries from this Friday. It's directed by Catherine Ferguson. I was talking about it like a couple of months back. It's brilliant. Probably the best Irish music documentary I think I've ever seen, to be honest. Like, it's pretty incredible, like very, very comprehensive. Basically, it starts from the beginning of her career, like her early childhood and all the rest of it, the abuse that she suffered inside, you know, the Magdalene laundries and all the rest of it, how she found her sound, how she found herself, really, right up to the pivotal moment when she, as we know, tore up the picture of the Pope and Saturday Night Live. But then what's interesting about it is that it then follows the career afterwards. And like, and she spoke about this a lot, was that like, she wasn't a pop star. She never wanted to be a pop star. She had no interest in being a pop star. So by her doing that, it was like, great, everyone knows now, everyone's on the same page. I'm not doing this, I'm doing this for me. And that is something that comes out in the interviews, I should say, that she does in the documentary, is that her voice is so clear that she knew exactly who she was, and she had she wasn't going to do this for anybody else. She wasn't here to impress anybody. She was only here to be herself and speak her truth. And I think that is so rare. In music, in film, in television, in everything. And I think we are the lesser for it, to be honest. Sorry.
But she does, no, that's a beautiful thing to say, because she does speak herself in Remembering her memoir about her life up to 1992 and that moment. And that's her ghost self, is what she says. And after that is when she became the real human being that she is. Now, this documentary, you've spoken before about how phenomenal you found it and how touching. Was Sinead involved?
Yeah, she was. She recorded interviews for it and all the rest of it. The only thing that isn't in it is actually Nothing Compares to You.
That's it.
Yeah, Prince wouldn't give the rights to the song, which is ridiculous.
That makes sense, doesn't it?
In a weird kind of way, because, like, I mean, as much as she performed that song again, she had so many other great songs in it. And in fact, I would say there's a brilliant performance in it of You Do Something to Me that she did at, I think it was one of the Pride parades or something like that in 1988. It's incredible. It's such a, like, it's so, sensual and amazing, and just you see it and you're reminded of what an incredible talent she was and how she could literally hold an entire audience in the palm of her hand.
And we've got a clip of some of that documentary as well.
Being most true to myself. I wasn't thinking to myself, I must be strong. I didn't know I was strong. An artist's job is sometimes to create the difficult conversations that need to be had. That's what art is for.
Oh my God, look at her.
How young she was and how, you know, like, just what the explosion she made onto the scene at the time.
But she lives in that world of the Christy Moores that speak, that sing about what they know and what they're interested in. And they're every sort of, like, every sort of thing. Like his song about Starlight, about the victims of Starlight, is one of the most powerful songs I've ever heard in my entire life. And that's what she did, but she was pilloried for it.
Completely. I mean, like, this is the thing. I think she was comfortable with being crucified by the public, by being crucified by the media. And, you know, she was unbothered, really. I mean, it's not to say that she didn't feel things. It's not to say that she didn't, you know, suffer in public as well. Do you know what I mean? But, like, she was, like, just fearless, like, so fearless. Like, it's unbelievable.
This is her voice. It's Sinead's words, and along with her memoir, Rememberings, which is spoken if you do the audiobook.
Yes, I meant to say that.
If you listen to it, it is Sinead who does the reading of that book. It is absolutely beautiful. And the documentary as well. It's going to be on Sky Documentary and Now TV.
That's right.
From Friday.
And
so
a lot more people are going to be tuning into that, unfortunately, because of the news, but it is
definitely. And it was missed. It came and went from cinemas as well, so it's definitely worth watching.
Look at some of the other stuff that's coming up. Are we going to get into this whole world of toys now becoming movies, gone, you know, from just Transformers? And there's one about Beanie Babies.
Yeah, so the Beanie Bubble is on Apple TV Plus, and it was unfortunately released the same weekend as Barbenheimer, so it just wasn't going to.
Oh, it was released last week.
Oh, yeah, right. It did a very small run in the cinemas, and now it's going to be on Apple TV this weekend. So the Beanie Babies, if you recall, were this like speculative bubble that happened in the 90s, where the company Ty basically made these like understuffed toys, and then they became collector's items. And this entire kind of cottage industry, if you like, sprung up out of nowhere on the internet when it was first starting off. Zach Galifianakis plays Ty Warner. Elizabeth Banks plays this woman called Patty Roach, who's kind of an amalgamation of different people in his life. It's kind of like trying to be like Air, kind of trying to be...
The one about Nike.
The one about Nike.
Michael Jordan. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, a little bit of kind of Wolf of Wall Street as well. Kind of Joy. You remember that film with Jennifer Lawrence? With the
yes, where she was playing a 40-something mom and she was 25. Well done, great casting.
Great casting, love it. Not great, to be totally honest. I found this a little bit flat. I will say Zach Galifianakis is great in it. I think he's really good at playing kind of like dark, twisted characters. Elizabeth Banks as well, like she's playing this real kind of like, you know, bossy kind of, you know, woman. Very good at that as well. But yeah, it's a little bit kind of flat. It's a little bit kind of two-dimensional. It doesn't really kind of get into the insights of it.
What would you get?
2.5, 2 out of 5.
Oh, that's good. I actually thought it was going to be worse.
It's good. It's not great. It's okay.
It's okay. It's okay. And there's Sarah Snook there, of course, from Succession. Now, let's talk about, we're going to talk about a programme now, and there was a lot of promo about this.
Huge amount of promo.
Zoe Saldana and Nicole Kidman. It's called Lioness. This is a TV show. What's it about?
Yeah, so it's about this special CIA programme where they recruit Marines, women Marines, and then, place them into, you know, terrorist groups to get them infiltrated and all the rest of it. I would say about 10, 15 years ago, this probably would have been huge around the time of like Zero Dark 30 and all the very kind of pro-military stuff that was going on in like US TV and what have you. Right now, though, when you watch it, it's very, very derivative and very boring and very like you've seen it 100 times.
Tell us how you really feel.
No, but I mean, it's just like you've seen this before, done better, and like it's interesting as well that like Zoe Saldana and Nicole Kidman, you're like, you're better than this.
Yeah.
Why are you doing
when
this?
I looked at the cast, I thought, oh yeah, okay, I'll give that a
Morgan
watch.
Freeman as well. You're like, okay, grand. And then you look at the credits and it's like executive producer Nicole Kidman. It's like, there it is.
Oh, okay, let's make the money.
Cha-ching.
Okay, really quickly, because Good Omens, it's going on to series 2. Good Omens is a wacky ride.
I did not, I will freely admit, you were talking about this afterwards. You watched the first season of it. I didn't.
Yeah.
I watched the second season. I'm now going back to watch the first season. It's really, really good. Written by Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman, stars David Tennant and Michael Sheen. What is it about? Okay, so Michael Sheen is
an angel and a devil.
Yeah.
They live on Earth.
Live on Earth in London and have to prevent the end of the world.
That's
pretty much it.
John Hamm as the
Archangel Gabriel. Yeah, he's terrific in it. It's brilliant. It's so funny. I loved it.
And it's on Amazon Prime this weekend?
This Friday,
This Friday. Honestly, if you're looking for something to watch, watch that and then watch Staged with the two of them, which was their lockdown comedy from BBC. Utter joy in your life.
Yeah.
Brian Lloyd from entertainment.ie, thank you so much for that and for bringing us the news about the Sinead O'Connor documentary, which will be available this weekend as well. And tonight on Virgin Media 1 at 11 p.m. it's the documentary Dublin After Dark. It features Gardaí giving harrowing insights of dealing with antisocial behaviour on the streets of the capital, which is something that we have been talking about all week. It's been talked about all over the place all week. Here is a clip.
If you're not happy with the camera standing here, okay, you move.
This weekend alone, there have been 2 attacks on Gardaí.
We have to reclaim our streets. There's only one force to do that, and that's on Garda Síochána.
We have decreasing numbers in Garda Síochána.
They promised to deliver on a higher visibility. It's not happening.
And you can watch the documentary Dublin After Dark tonight at 11 p.m. on Virgin Media 1.
You certainly can. Still to come, sizzling style on the catwalk, and we debunk some nutrition myths. We'll talk to you shortly on Ireland Day. Welcome back. Now, if you're looking for the season's hottest fashion trends, look no further. She is always our saviour. Stylist Lorna Waitman is here. Lorna, it is lovely that you're doing this because there are certain things that are everywhere and you're going to show us how to wear them.
Exactly. And if I look to magazines, you know, social media all the time to see what people are wearing the most, fashion weeks. So I've done a lot of research over the season and I've narrowed it down to 4 items that we've seen a lot of, but I think that's always a good sign because it just shows that people are really engaging with a particular piece, and then it's such an eclectic kind of mix of how you style those pieces, which is really important. So we can talk all day about capsule wardrobes, but it's how you bring it into your own personal style that's really, really important, and sometimes a little bit challenging.
It can be. So we're going to start today with pleats. Sarah is here with our pleats look.
Sarah's in with pleats. Now, pleats they kind of come and go.
Oh, that's lovely. I was thinking it's going to be a big flouncy skirt.
And it's not. I went for a jumpsuit. You could actually put the jumpsuit into the category of like trending items this season as well.
Absolutely.
It really has made a comeback. But with pleats, it's a bit of a, you know, one of those things, it's a bit of a love it or hate it kind of style. But with this particular one, what I love about it is that the pleats are so narrow. It means that it really kind of flatters your body an awful lot. With pleats that are wider, they tend to create more volume on your body. So these are really, really narrow, almost like plissé. And by plissé, I say it's like that industrially pressed pleat.
Yes.
So really flattering to wear, keeps its shape really well as well, which is also very important. But also when you see that kind of tiered effect on the jumpsuit, it's really flattering for creating shape around the bust line if you need to do that. And also this has adjustable straps so you can bring it up and down depending on where you want to wear it.
And what about someone who is, you know, who's bigger? You know, Sarah's a slim woman. Like, is this something that, because I think that waistline would actually work on where it hits?
Absolutely, because it has adjustable straps on it, you can bring that whole jumpsuit up a little bit higher so that the seam underneath the bust line becomes an empire line and then falls straight down your body, which is really, really flattering. So they're all the key things you're kind of looking for with pleats.
Lovely.
So earrings and accessories, I'm keeping very pared back today, so it's all about the clothes. But I love that nod to the 70s with this jumpsuit, the colour, the pleats, so we had to put in a little gold hoop to kind of carry all of that off. But also with a jumpsuit like this, you'll notice the length of it. Oh, we're back to the gold bag as well. Have to mention the sparkly gold bag because gold and that olive green are actually a beautiful pairing
Gorgeous together.
Exactly. So you can actually do this whole look for, let's say, a wedding or an event, or you can just strip back all of the accessories and wear it with a pair of flats and nice little sandals and make it totally casual.
And these are great sandals, actually.
These are such a lovely sandal. Now, my heel days are kind of like limited at the moment, but when I look at these, I'm like, yes, this is a pair I could absolutely wear. So the gold theme carries through this whole outfit. But don't write off pleats is what I would say. It's a really, really flattering thing to wear, and especially in a jumpsuit, which you may not kind of consider wearing.
I mean, that's a really nice look there. We're moving on to our second trend for the summer, and this is, I mean, everywhere. Kelly's here with the denim midi long skirt.
Midi long skirt. Yeah. And interestingly, this is quite a long midi skirt.
Yes.
So if you're a petite, it might be a little bit longer and you can go to maxi skirt, which is also a big trend as well. And this is the first of kind of 2 references to denim we have today. But denim and the kind of Breton stripe is a really lovely kind of almost preppy look, but also very, very wearable. So knits in the summer, you might think, oh gosh, no, I'll be way, way too hot. But actually this season, one of the fashion editor recommendations was to go for sleeveless knits or something that's a little bit lightweight. So you get a little bit of, you know, texture without overheating, which I love about this as well. But also this is a look that will kind of be every season, not just this season, which I particularly like. But the denim skirt, I feel like we're back in the kind of 2000s.
We are.
Very much. It just shows you how cyclical fashion really is. But this one I particularly love because of the slit. So if you want to wear a high shoe or a flat shoe like I have today, you still kind of are breaking up your body into proportion. So you see that little bit of leg, which is really good, and it keeps your body in like thirds. And I've always talked about the rule of thirds in clothes. So you've got your jumper, you've got your next step down to your knee, then down to the end of the outfit.
And the thing is that this is going to work in winter because you will be able to wear it with a knee-high boot.
Exactly, and it'll look absolutely lovely with the knee-high boot. And
Fabulous.
I love the kind of colour combination of the two as well, which works really, really good. And then a little flat kind of ballet
we'll go with
pump.
the earring very quickly.
Oh, the earring as well, yes. Sticking with gold. All the accessories today are gold because
Lovely and simple.
Really, really simple. So when you're wearing stripes or you're wearing something that is a bit more of a statement outfit, just make sure you pair back all of the accessories as well.
And the shoes have come back. The ballet pump, let's not have any sort of support in the feet at all. Throw the Birkenstocks out and we're back to the ballet pump.
Exactly. You're back to burning ankles and heels. But you know what? They're great for just popping on if you've got to fly out somewhere.
They're very handy.
They're very, very handy to have. And with a neutral colour, you're really not taking away from your outfit. You're kind of blending them into the outfit as well. So that's another thing I always particularly like. And there's massive designer references with flat shoes these days too. They're never going away.
Yumiko is here with the cargo pants everywhere for the past few months.
Everywhere. And I've dabbled in cargo pants a lot over this
You
season.
have?
I really have. Because they've actually proven way more popular than I thought they would be. Thanks to, firstly, elasticated waist, which I am a very big fan of. So it means you can actually position them wherever you want along your body and they're not going to fall down.
Because you were wearing cargo pants with your bump.
I was.
Like you were wearing a lot of them with your bump.
Yeah, right up over.
Over the bump.
Yeah, exactly. And I just sized up and they came straight up over it. But these ones are lovely because they're a neutral tone, so you can mix and match so many different colours with them. But there's detail on these trousers, which I really like. So you've got that nice drawstring waist, you've got pockets, but you've also got pockets to kind of reference the cargo of it. They are such a lovely shape. And they're not too kind of light a cream. So you've got just a little bit of a darker, almost into the brown hues. Yeah. So it's a really practical thing for autumn as well, not just summer.
And you've done that very fashion thing of styling a brown with the black.
Exactly. And I love brown and black as a combination. Sometimes maybe we're a bit afraid to do that, but also it's a completely different mixture of textures. So we've got like a lace top, typically very dressy, cargo trousers, quite casual. Putting them together is actually a really, really nice fusion. And these are all available from ontrend.eu. And actually the vest comes with this top, so you get that nice layer as well. So if you wanted to swap that out for something else, different colour, or you could just go with underwear underneath, which is another big trend. There's lots of different options on this.
I love the lip Yumiko's done with this as well. It's so nice. But the shoes.
Shoes. So you could go with a black shoe and be completely, coordinated. I just went with white to make it a bit more summery. And also these are such a great little shoe from Pennies that you can just slide on and go. And honestly, practicality when you come to outfits like this is really, really important. So
it's taken me years to get on the white shoe trend and I love it. They're
I love
so
the white
handy.
shoe trend. Yes, as I'm wearing my white shoes today, I love white shoes.
Oh, the denim dress. This is a lovely one.
So second nod to denim, and this has been a fashion editor favourite all season. So if you kind of go through all of the L's, the Grazias, the Vogues, in their shopping pages, there's always been a denim dress featured. And I love this one. It's from Va Va Voom. And it's almost like a tea dress style. Chambray is the fabric.
Thank you. It's a chambray.
Thinking about it. So chambray is like a very, very light denim, but it's got more of a cotton element to it. So it floats, it's floaty, it's less structured. So super lovely and light.
Oh, that's lovely.
Isn't it beautiful? And there's so many different things. You've got the kind of collar, which is the nod to the denim shirt. You've got a longer style sleeve. You've got like a waistline on it. It also buttons the whole way down, so you can leave a few buttons open if you wanted to.
That's lovely.
It's a very practical dress for the price of it as well, which I also is another big selling point for me too.
So good. You've gone with the kind of classic bag.
Classic bag. A little bit of a nod to some designer bags here as well,
Yeah,
which is a lovely,
few.
just a few. And there's a really nice marriage of all of that look because it's a little bit of a more classic look.
Yeah.
So you've got the little bag. The mini bag was a big thing again this year.
It was.
And you can take it out, but there's not much you can fit in it. But it looks really good with an outfit like this. And then as we kind of move down the outfit, you'll know the shoes have a bit of a print to them. So
I love these.
These are great and they're a really nice height, but also that kind of animal print or faux animal print looks really good with denim. It works really well with denim. So you don't have to just go with the black colour all the time.
shoe. Let me fix your shoe. Now,
Are you
there
trying
we
to
go.
take my job?
I'm not. You've got a big enough bump. You shouldn't be going doing shoes at the moment.
So it all kind of blends together, and also the animal print kind of sticks with that 70s
Those are
trend.
lovely.
Aren't they lovely? And they're from Vavavoom as well.
And then just the simple hoop earrings.
Simple hoop earrings, which we had before. So you're
The
just
same ones.
repeating your accessories as well. So you don't have to go overboard.
I love
But the
that
whole look
chambray
is lovely.
dress.
Isn't it really good? And I just think it's such a universal piece to have in your wardrobe that you'll have forever.
Sarah, you look gorgeous. Thank you so much. We'll be doing more because Lorna, which I thought you were here next week, you're going on maternity leave.
My maternity leave starts in about 2 minutes when we go off air.
Lorna, thank you so much. You're always so good. We're going to miss you. We're going to miss you.
I'll be back for winter.
Lorna, wait, she'll be there. She's having her baby soon. She'll be back for winter. And now let's go over to Sean for what's coming up next.
Thanks, Brian. Up next, we're talking about artificial sweeteners. When is zero not the way to go? We'll be finding out more after the break.
Welcome back to Ireland AM. Now, recently, the World Health Organization, they had their latest report on artificial sweeteners. People have been wondering just what it is, because it's mentioned so much in this, aspartame.
Now, here with our Need to Know is nutritionist Sinead Bradbury. So, what is aspartame? And, like, it's been linked to cancer.
Yeah, well, this is the thing now, Sean. The latest report on July 14th was to clear this up from the World Health Organization. So aspartame is just one of many artificial sweeteners, but the latest report is exclusive to aspartame, and they have reclassified it as possibly carcinogenic.
What is possibly carcinogenic?
So there has been links in the limited research out there. There has been links to cancer in humans.
See, an awful lot of this is like every new report that I see. Red wine, chocolate, it's good for you, it's bad for you, it's linked to cancer. There's a lot of this, right? It's thrown at us all the time,
But this is classified now that way on paper, but they haven't changed the guidelines on how much to consume, which is 40 milligrams per kg of body weight. They're keeping that the same. Now, they are saying in order to reach that limit, you would want to be having 14 cans, we'll say, of Diet Coke. So it's very high.
Okay.
So you'd want to be, for it to be fully dangerous according to the current data, you'd want to be consuming so much of it.
Okay, so a lot more than most people are. But this is in a lot more than people might think
This is the thing as well. And I just want, they also are telling us that consuming artificial sweeteners is not supportive to weight loss.
Okay.
So there's a lot of people having a lot of diet and low sugar and zero products thinking that it's going to be fully supportive to weight loss, but there's a lot more to it, and it's very complex. Like, this was as a result of a meta-analysis, which is kind of taking into account all the research currently there on the subject and kind of coming up with a conclusion for the everyday person.
Yeah, because an awful lot of people could be like drinking a full-fat drink and they switch to, we've got zero now, you know, the zero sugar stuff, and they're like, well, I'm doing the right thing here, right, if I want to be healthier.
Yes. But really, they're not health products, first of all, Miriam, you know. So I think the advice that I would like to give to the public is reserve caution, cut down, use it functionally where necessary, but overall we want to talk about real foods when it comes to health, you know, as opposed to totally processed foods.
What is aspartame in? What's it in?
It's in all of these products, for instance. So it's in a lot of diet yogurts. It's in all the zero drinks, most of them. It's in the alternatives to sugar, like these products here. It's in some of the diluted drinks.
The diluted drinks?
Yeah, unfortunately it is. Yeah, and even myself, I thought it was just in zero sugar, but it's in the no added sugar as well. Not in all of them. And we're specifically talking about aspartame here as well. So that's what the report was talking about. So,
and it gives it sweetness, is that what it does?
Yeah, it's 300 times more sweet than natural sugar.
And
so
what does that do to both your body and your brain as well, though? Because that becomes very, this is addictive.
Yeah, and that's the thing, Sean, as well. So I wanted to kind of stick to the fact that it's linked to cancer, but there's a lot of other studies going on in terms of, again, is it successful at all for weight loss? They're not saying it is. But it changes our taste buds as well. Because it's so sweet, now we're obviously told to eat less of it, but because it's so sweet, we're noticing from the research as well that people who consume an awful lot of artificial sweeteners are losing their taste for natural sugars, like it's found in vegetables and fruits, because there's no hit anymore.
The banana, the strawberry doesn't taste as nice when you're having 3 Diet Cokes a day or whatever it is.
Yeah, that's the thing.
And even when you're doing something, because I was told it was, because I'd have a lot of chewing gum, and people were like, stop. My mother was like, stop, you're not doing it, because aspartame is in that. What can we do for that hit? Are there natural things that we can?
Yeah, well, so over here, I mean, cutting down it would be great. Not seeing it as a health products would be great, but then understanding that, like, a little bit of maple syrup, a little bit of honey on your porridge, like you know, even like Slimline tonic has aspartame in it, so maybe just a normal tonic, and people are having maybe a little bit more.
No more gin and Slimlines.
There you go. I don't want that to be the message now either. But I mean,
natural yogurt rather than low fat.
Yeah, normal sugars in the fruits and the vegetable, of course. A little bit of table sugar from time to time. There's a brand there with aspartame-free chewing gum. So I suppose it's just being aware of how much you're consuming and the understanding that just because it's low calories doesn't mean that it's healthy.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay.
So you aren't better off having the diet drink, really?
Well, not really. I mean, there's an awful lot to health and weight loss and well-being, obviously, like exercise and sleep and all that. But just be conscious that, yeah, some people really need to reduce their calories, so we can sort of helpful there. But don't take it overboard and don't go too crazy on it all, assuming that it's the healthy option.
Yeah, sometimes the normal foods that have natural sugars in them.
And you're satisfied from the mirror, and then, you know.
You're fuller.
You're fuller.
You're 100% fuller. Yeah. As always, Sinead Bradbury, nutritionist, thank you so much for joining us. You're as good as gold. Now, coming up on Friday's Ireland AM, comedian Colm O'Regan on why we need to talk about climate change without shouting at each other.
That's the trick. And we get a lesson from the Dubliner who Ken danced alongside Ryan Gosling in Barbie.
Elaine Martin and Katya are back from 7 a.m. But now I think we're going to leave you right now in just a few minutes with just a look at some of Sinead O'Connor's greatest hits. Thanks for being with us today. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks, Sinead.